Welcome to my channel. I'd like to talk today about a fascinating character, the Queen of the Night by Mozart from his Magic Flute. First of all, I'd like to state that it's one of my favorite ever characters as a female persona. It's full of punch. It's a daring, bold, and yet sculpted beautifully, carved beautifully. It's a character who has a lot of layers, a character who can express faithfulness and tenderness, and a character who turns out to be quite aggressive, and you can also see that along the way throughout the composition. Mozart's talent, of course, being quite amazing. There are quite a few pointers throughout the first aria, O Zittere nicht, Do Not Be Afraid, when she reveals her true colors, her true personality. First of all, I think that the accents in the strings opening and throughout the song are very strong indications of her intentions. They are sharper and bolder and more assertive than she will let on via the libretto. So while she's trying to console Tamino and persuade him to free her daughter from a villain, it's very, says Larghetto, it's very beautiful and sobbing and beautifully vaginal, very vulnerable, sort of not weak quite, but a very moldable and very victim-like sort of pace. Straight after this moment of moving sincerity, so we think, she goes on to say Ein Bösewicht, which is really sharpened and accented with some kind of subito in the emotion and in the dynamic also. And this is followed by the forte in the strings to accentuate this intention. And she's describing the villain with a lot of hatred, a lot of aggro. So I suppose if you're an actor, singer on stage, you have to take this upon, perhaps tightening of the fist or tightening of the lips and teeth, whatever. If you're a choreographer, you're probably showing that in the staging, either with the reaction from the three ladies or reaction from somebody else, or maybe you're showing that in the lighting. It's quite subtle, but it's very present. And then she goes back, no, see done. So it goes back to the beautiful melody of Please Pity Me, and this motherly love coming on again, and a lot of vowels, a lot of beautiful strong feelings, until the du wir sollen freien gehen, du wie dir Tochter bereit sein, ja, du nie. Anyway, so after this, at that point, she's really salting Tamino's wound by really almost accusing him and loading him with this guilt of not rescuing this girl if, you know, he doesn't interfere. So there's a lot of pressure on Tamino, and it is quite cruel really of her at that point. It's another dimension of her personality. So when you think that you've got a protective mother, you've got somebody who's very double-edged and very sharp in a cunning sort of way. I have to point out also the vocal textures. Obviously, this is coloratura, so it's really a lot of sharp top vowels and a lot of trills. These attacks at the top or even in the middle of the stave cannot be too pretty. You have a lot of acid going through and a lot of sharpness, a lot of bitterness is what she is. She's a bit like a witch. She's quite bitter, angry. And of course she's lying, so you don't want to put too much of the beautiful sky blue mother color around her vocals. I have another video on some of the staging insights I did, I don't know, donkeys years ago, at least 3-4 years ago, when I first started my YouTube channels. If you look at it and you type Konigin, you will find it on my, I believe it's music analysis playlist. And there are also thousands staccati, and it's all jagged, it's knife wounds really drilling into your listener's mind. This is really repetition of one intention, one sentiment she has at a time, repeated ad eternum, like 1,000 times a minute, is what we have here. This aggressive repeat of some kind of accent in assertiveness. With regards my relationship with the Queen of the Night, I've never really sung it fully in public. The thing is, I really very much relate to this character because it's such a strong one. If you're a feminist, I suppose you might like this character because it offers everything matriarchal. You can think of the strength, she's evil, but she's got this, but beyond this evil character, you have a lot of strength of character, a lot of layers of femininity and beauty and power. So as well as the ruling status, this massive authority and this motherhood, you have the beauty and the sexiness, the exquisite sexuality that she deploys when she's trying to seduce Tamino is what it is. So it's a massive sort of dented vagina complex, that's what she is. But it's also extremely protective in the fake sort of way, but it's a beautiful music of protection. The music only reveals bit by bit the dangers, and there's got this peekaboo system of, oh my god, what if she really is some kind of demon at the back, you know. And the rhythm is exciting. It changes and it switches from a glorious, beautiful, womanly, and then it goes into this bonkers sort of dynamic. It's this stamina she's got. As I was saying, I relate to this character because of the protection thing and the strength. But before I even knew what the character was, when I listened to it for the first time when I was 17, it was one of the arias I related to most. So when I was in my 20s in London, I was going for a very, very rough time, and I had this stupid flat share crap going on in South London, and this guy was basically harassing me and trying to strangle me and physically attacking me for no reason at all, apart from wanting to be the alpha male, and I couldn't say anything to the landlord, blah blah blah. And the only things that consoled me were praying, and also because I was on my own in this country, also I found that the aria of the Queen, the first aria of the Queen of the Night, really strengthened me. I was learning it before I even had my first bel canto class. Found that because of the psychological conjecture I was in at the time, I could actually reach the top notes. I mean, it's in my voice, but I hadn't found my top F yet, technically. But it was in my psychology. This music is so well written that it actually corresponds to psychological textures and context directly without understanding the technique. I found the notes and the language of the music. Just when you know you have a great composition, but I could reach the notes and really go for this interjections in this because I related to this protection structure and these beautiful eloquent phrases, and also to the stress in the voice. I haven't got the top F, but it's very difficult to learn all the notes on the trills, and that's the problem I have. It's extremely difficult to sing the projection on every note precisely. I also like to observe and speculate about what you could wear when you're on stage doing the Queen of the Night. I think this is a very sexualized character. I know she's not trying to seduce Tamino in that way, but she is trying to use her powers as a female to seduce him. The voice, the pouring, and the tantalizing. She's really trying to spread her arms like an octopus all around him. So I usually think that it's quite an appropriate thing to put her in a tight gown, sparkly, maybe like a Diana Ross stuff. Don't want to camp, but this is opera. So a tight black dress with sparkles, because she's the Queen of the Night. You need this lyrics crap going on, and the gemstones recurrences and the very different sizes of gemstones, so the light catches here and there, so it's not too clear. She's not an obvious character. You don't want the one structure on her body. So, and also another version I put in my new video was some kind of element, sort of silhouette, still tight, maybe in a flesh colored body stocking, and different kind of big gemstones with blues and clear gemstones, just chunky, various sort of types of sort of almost animal gemstones living on her, because she's such an element. She comes right out of the sky, just living being, and also sexy and beautifully curved, an element of darkness thrown in, you know, not too light, not too watery. I also like the idea of veils, because veils capture what the winds do, so dark and light blue veils to use those flamenco movements in the music, those dips, those accents. There's surprise with a chiffon veil, like a giant chiffon veil moving around, like she belongs with the winds, and she belongs with that undefiable mass we have around us during the night. It really goes into some kind of swingy thing, and I always, like, I understand it as a modern beat from Western is called zouk. And the more I listen to this, and I recognize zouk because it's the zouk from the 80s and 90s. It's just the same kind of rhythm and the same kind of sort of brilliant sort of agitation, but with different instruments. Because this is an opera, a different period, the instruments will be different, but the beat is so vivacious. It's also the beat of victory, the beat of joy and renewal. All this is at the end, because she's so certain and so joyful in advance of her victory, of her, she's jubilating already and mocking the guy. It's also like a laughter. She's like, the trills are like a laughter, and then after that, as she's offering the guy to have her daughter, she's taking the piss out of the poor soul. So she's tortured him a bit, she played the role, and now she's taking the piss. She's laughing in advance because she's such a fool. So do not be afraid, you're a brave man, but really deep inside, I'm just like taking the mickey, and I can't believe how cretinous you really are. So that's also part of the Queen of the Night. And it's amazing for one author to put all this in one piece. It's the first hire, Ut sit Training. It's quite a trial for singers, I suppose for musicians as well in the orchestra. Also quite a triumph for any actor to do this properly. If you're a singer actress, you have to do this properly. It's been tested and tried, done so many times on stage, but very few singers can actually pull this off and act it properly. And I mean acting, you don't need to do a lot of movement. You can't do a lot of movement with that sort of trill bullshit going on. You have to mark, and a good director too, but a good actor, to mark the crucial moments, as stated earlier, when she changes characters and stuff, and even movement. You can make one step at a crucial moment and actually mark the whole character with motivation instead of moving a lot. You have, and very few people can do this, because you really have to have the motivation inside. This is a Stanislavski